Welcome to the Soul of Small Business Hidden Heroes, where we delve into the heart and soul of local entrepreneurs, uncovering their passions, values, and the essence that fuels their businesses, forging connections that resonate deeply with our listeners. Join us as we shine a spotlight on the unsung heroes shaping our communities one heartfelt conversation at a time. Here we are for another episode of Soul of the Small Business Hidden Heroes. And I'm Beth Riebensdorf and our co-host Sydney Riebensdorf. And our guest today is Mike Pruitt with Pruitt's Plumbing. Let's talk about Pruitt's Plumbing, how'd they start, how long you've been in business. Tell us a little bit.
Pruitt's Plumbing started in June of 2004. My brother was the owner of the company. He started it. We do commercial and residential work. We do service work. We do new builds. We take care of emergencies. We're 24/7.
A lot of those, I imagine.
Yes. A lot of the first opportunities we get as a plumbing company is just that. It's an emergency. And if you can solve their problem, take care of their issue, now they love you. And then that transfers on to regular business when it's not an emergency.
Right.
Now we do service work for both residential and commercial. We also do new builds. We've built a few AutoZones. We're doing restaurants. We did a Cartel Coffee production facility. And that's been a good experience, but we have downsized the company. We really put an emphasis on the right people instead of just people. I think most people can tell you when you're trying to keep up with that pace, hey, can you start tomorrow? Great, you're hired. Instead of looking at what kind of a person they are and how they can help your company. So we hire now on more of a who are you versus what you can do. My background was in the restaurant industry.
That's right.
Worked for Luby's quite a bit, and that was one of the things that we always talked about is you can go to a lot of places and get good food, but how many places can you go and get great service? And as much as it doesn't sound like it translates into plumbing, but it's really not any different, because how many people do you know that can turn a wrench?
Right. But there's a big difference in the results.
Big difference in your communication with the customer, how you treat the customer, how you work through them, make your explanations, give them their options, tell them your recommendations. The whole thing about how you treat them is what really is going to distinguish you between someone else. We're still kind of the old school family business that believes there's nothing better than word of mouth.
Yeah.
And you have to work at that, because that's what we say is plumbing is a service business.
Right. How would you recommend that somebody who's choosing plumbing, because everybody's going to need a plumber at some point, everybody, what makes a good plumber or plumbing service company?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, and I think one of the things you see is some of the, I don't say the bigger companies, but the ones that spend a lot on advertising. Typically, when it comes to price, you're going to see
you have to pay for it.
You're going to see the difference.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that I would recommend to anybody is if you can talk to someone that's used a plumbing company before, that's had a good success with them, that appreciates their service, that likes who they work with, that's probably the best way to go. But there's so many different deals where you go on to Google scores that have a good reflection of how that company prioritizes service versus prioritizing price. That was funny, my son, he lives in Denver now, but he sent me a podcast of another plumbing company in Phoenix. And it was interesting just because the entire podcast was about how much money this company's making.
Oh, wow.
And I was just thinking, my gosh, I don't know that would make me call them
Right.
if you're
Right.
just talking about how much money you're making.
Yeah. No.
Well, that's interesting because each of our businesses are similar, and that's why I love the concept of small businesses. That if you're small and you're relying on people to trust you, there are certain things and qualities you have to have and you have to do, or you're not going to get repeat business. And so the mindset behind that and how you run your business. So like we have a very specific measurement on what we consider our success. And it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with whether or not people introduce us. And if they don't, then we haven't earned their trust. And once you earn trust, everything follows.
Yeah.
So that's our measurement. I'm wondering, what is your measurement for success at Pruitt's?
And I think that's perfect, because if you do everything else right,
Right.
you'll never have to worry about the money question.
Right.
Just do it right. One of the things we talk about a lot is just nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Amen. How do you measure that? I mean, how do you measure how well they're doing? And how do you measure the company itself, like where it's going?
We have probably various items that we have. We when we work, we follow up with calls. We have the surveys that we ask people to fill out to give the feedback. Feedback is very important, because going back to my restaurant days, but it was always when the person, how was everything? It was fine. And you're just looking at them going, you're saying fine, but you don't mean fine. What's wrong? And we'll always go back too, because in our business, and I think in every business, sometimes things aren't going to go well.
Right.
And I think that how you handle that and what you do with that is going to say more about your company than anything else.
Yeah.
If something doesn't go right, it's our job to fix it and not make anybody else suffer or anybody else pay extra or anybody else do it. It's just, you have to solve the problem. And that's as good an opportunity as you'll ever get to say something about your company. Because I can't tell you how many referrals we've gotten from a customer where something went bad.
Right.
And if you handle it the right way, that person now will stand on the rooftop and tell everybody about what a great, they came out and they didn't get the toilet fixed, but when I called them, they were back out the same day, looked at it, evaluated, fixed it, and didn't charge me a dime extra. And that's kind of how we measure it, is just the feedback. The feedback we get from customers as we scaled back the company and made it a more family-oriented company with the right people.
That sounds like culture. Was there a culture shift?
There was a large one. And that was one of the things we did over the last 3 or 4 years, is we've changed the culture. Technicians, oh my gosh, it was a revolving door. We were going so fast, you weren't taking the time to train them as well as they should be trained, and it was constant turnover. We do not have a technician that has less than a year and a half with us.
Okay.
So I think our culture change as a company has really impacted everyone in it.
And it makes them more skilled as a technician because of the experience.
Yeah.
They see more, and so they know how to avoid more.
And I think, there's no substitute for experience.
Right.
Except for experience. But it is. As you go through it, there is a cost to starting over all the time, whether it's, a technician or someone in the office. Our longest tenured employee with 10 years drives from Buckeye every day to our office, probably 45 minute to an hour drive. But they love it. They love Pruitt's Plumbing. We took the group and made it a family, And some of the things we do to help that culture is we started finding ways to give back to our team. We've had an annual picnic for 5 years. We have a cornhole tournament. We have a cute little trophy that has a picture of a golden toilet on it.
Of course you do.
The prize. But, you know, it's for the families and not just, you know, everyone brings their family. We go to a park, we cook food, we do drawings for prizes, we have our cornhole tournament, and we've done that, you know, for 5 years now. We developed a rewards program called Pruitt. So we actually have, I would say, a mini store that has all kinds of items on it, gift cards, coffee mugs, shirts, gift certificates, that whenever someone does something good, and what we always classify it is, you give out the Pruitt whenever somebody does something that's worth repeating, that you want to see them do again and again.
To reinforce over and over.
Right.
I love that.
So we have a couple different nominations, but you sign it, you fill out, you put the reason why, you present it, and then they can just come back in and use that to buy merchandise, to get gift cards, rather than you know, giving someone a Starbucks gift card that doesn't like coffee. You let them choose. So,
you know what I love about that? It really demonstrates that the culture of like treating people like family, you're treating them like family, and that really reinforces and cements that that's how we would like our clients to feel as well.
And how people treat their employees says a lot about how they treat their
Oh
customers.
my gosh.
so yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not that, you know, we don't fight sometimes as a family.
Or disagree. Disagreement's
Right.
not bad.
No, and you know, we have our weekly managers meeting, and that's what we talk about is what happens in this room. We can yell, scream, get it all figured out, but when we walk out that door, everybody's on a united front. That whatever differences we have, we solved, we came up with an idea, and now we have a plan to put in place.
Right.
So what was the biggest lesson, I guess, that you learned from a leadership position that inspired the culture shift that you decided to create?
I think it was 20 years in the restaurant business really helped shape myself into what I thought a good leader would be. And one of the things when I worked for Luby's was you worked at a store a couple of years, and then you went to another store. And so I had the experience to work with some other people that really taught me a lot. You know, not every person I worked for was what I would call a great leader, but I had a couple that were really, really good that taught me a lot. And it's amazing what you learn from other people who aren't so. It's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I never want to treat
You learn what not to do.
I never want to treat anybody like that.
Yeah.
And when I came over to the plumbing business and began working for my brother, that was, I guess, the yin and the yang between him and I.
That was a big strength that you had.
Right. It was a strength I had. I was a lousy plumber when I came.
You didn't have the 10,000 hours to master
I
it
did
yet.
not have the experience. You know, I've fixed a couple things and taped up some drain pipes, but I didn't know. And my brother
Had seen it all.
he was one of the best plumbers that anybody had ever seen. But he taught me that, and then I was able to fill in from my experience, you know, to talk about culture, to talk about, you know, what it means for someone to say good morning, you know, to you know, get my brother to come out of his office, but to go around there and talk to people during the day, to find out what matters, because again, they've got families, they've got kids, and if you don't embrace that, you know, how do you get someone to drive from Buckeye
right?
to come to work for 10 years and spend millions of dollars in gas?
Yeah.
60% of my crew right now, technician-wise, this is their first plumbing job.
Oh, interesting.
One of the philosophical things we talked about was I can teach anybody plumbing. You know, you give me the right person, and I can teach them to plumb. You give me a good plumber, and I have to teach him how to be the right person.
Right.
That's hard.
Yeah, that is.
That's real hard.
Yeah.
And that was just one of the things over the years we figured out, that when you take a good person and you give him a good career, and you take the time and effort to change their life, because plumbing is a great profession.
It really is.
As a trade, it is a great profession.
Where would we be without it?
It's almost like being a nurse.
Yeah.
You'll never have to worry about being employed.
Right.
If you're a plumber, you're a nurse, you will never have to worry about employed. As long as you're a good one. But being a good person, that's the key. So we began taking and extending the training time for the right person, as opposed to getting a 20-year plumber who, no, this is the way I do it, I don't want to do it that way. No, this is the way we want, but yeah, I've done it. That was one of the changes too. So in our room, that was really helped with the longevity, because when you change someone's life like that, that loyalty is there.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well, just the awareness. A lot of people just don't even have that
Right.
awareness that it matters and how important it is.
yeah,
And this is just like the poster child example for me of how I feel about small businesses and the hidden strengths, the hidden contributions, and the impact that you have on so many people, not just clients, but the work opportunities and the shaping of mindsets of people, skills, and creating a beautiful life.
yeah. And that ripple effect that you have, there's so many people just don't understand. I mean, I can think of one of our technicians that came work for us, Kevin, of him just coming to me 6 months later and walking in my office and shutting the door and telling me how he changed his life.
Oh, wow.
He was basically doing landscaping, trimming palm trees. He had pictures of himself way up there, and he's just like, I just know I was going to die someday for doing this dangerous work. And then his brother was doing the same thing, wanted to come aboard. So he came aboard. And now that whole family dynamic has changed dramatically for them. And it's such a rewarding thing to have someone come to you and all I did was just give you a job. But that's what it means to take a good person and give them an opportunity that, you know, for whatever reason, you know, maybe education, maybe family life growing up, that they never had and they never thought they were going to have. And that's just, we've been very fortunate to do that with several people.
Oh, I bet. So what's the weirdest thing that you've run into in this business?
Oh my goodness, right.
There's got to be some stories
Yes, we have some stories.
that you can share.
Yeah.
No names.
Some of them are not always clean. So I personally went to a house and I couldn't clear the toilet. So I told the customer, I said, like, something's in there because my little snake won't go through. I said, I'm going to take your toilet outside and I'm going to break it. And I said, if there's nothing in there, the warranty company will pay for your toilet. We'll give you a new one. I said, but if there's something in it, then the warranty won't cover it. She said, that's fine.
Uh-oh.
So we go out, set it on the cardboard, take it out there, break it, and just walk back in and said, are you missing your remote control? It was the remote control for the TV. She's like, oh, that's what I meant. They had two TVs that were exactly the same. So when the remote control disappeared, they were just using one. But she didn't want it back.
Kids, I'm assuming, yeah.
So here we are with another version of the Solo Small Business Hidden Heroes, and we're here Sydney Riebenstorf is my co-host. I'm Beth Riebenstorf, and our guest is Mike Pruitt with Pruitt's Plumbing. Everybody needs a plumber at some point. That's such a given, but there's a wide variety of skill sets and service that you can get among plumbers, because there's a lot of them. So somebody who's looking for a plumber, what would you recommend that they look for?
Yeah, I think the best thing about looking for a plumber is, obviously, I think word of mouth referral would be the best. If you know somebody who's had a plumbing experience, you may see a plumbing truck at your neighbor's house on the street. Go ask them how it was, because not every plumber's created equal.
No, we know that.
I was told when I went into plumbing that, you just have to be a good plumber. You don't have to be great because there's so many bad ones. And as much as that doesn't sound, is most plumbing companies kind of fall in the same category. We're not the cheapest, nor do we want to be, but we're also not the one that is going to, I would say, take advantage of the situation. We really strive to do quality work at a fair price. And I think that's, trying to find plumbers that would be the best way to do it would be
word of mouth. Ask your realtor. Your
ask
realtors
someone,
know the ones that have done well and not. I think that's a great idea.
Realtors, your property managers, anyone in that kind of trades business, because they're ones that use them over and over and over. And when you have that, there's a reason why they keep using them.
Right.
Because the competition, there's a lot of plumbing companies out there.
Yeah.
We have set pricing for all the standard items. If I'm putting a PRV in, if I have a 50-gallon gas water heater, that we're not allowing our technicians to go out there and go, yeah, this one's going to be $3,000, or the other one was $1,500. Right. Just because, like you said, they think they can get by with it.
Right.
So we regulate that as a company in most cases, and then the ones that are more in detailed bids are done by our supervisors or senior technicians, and not by the inexperienced, I guess you'd say, the less experienced technicians. We want to help them get a good, fair price.
So what would you want people to say about Pruitt's? If Sydney called me and said, hey, somebody recommended Pruitt's, have you used them? What would you tell me about them? What would you want people to say about you?
Ideally, I would love the first thing come out of their mouth was, I had a problem and they solved it. That, to me, that's the whole thing. If we can solve your problem, that's it.
Is that enough?
Yes and no.
So if I said, they solved my problem, but...
and of course, I think naturally that leads into is what happened, how? Well, I called them, I explained what it is. They got somebody out here in a very fast amount of time. The person was friendly, knowledgeable, gave me different options to let me choose from, gave me a recommendation. I talked to them, decided what we wanted, and then they fixed it, and I haven't had a problem since. The better the service, the less conversations you have about price. I'm no different. If I go buy a faucet, I go to Home Depot. Yeah. But you can have the exact same faucet at Home Depot because most people there, it's more of a price conscious decision. Now, if you go to a plumbing store or you have a plumber supply a faucet for you, you can have the same brand of faucet side by side, look exactly the same, but one weighs 5 pounds more than the other because it's made with brass, and the one in the box stores are made with plastic. So
there's a little behind the scenes look.
Right. It happened when my wife and I were buying a faucet. Of course, what I wanted didn't matter. So I took her to Home Depot and we picked out the faucet. But then I went to the plumbing store, got the exact same brand, exact same faucet. It had a different name, but I wanted that brass one.
Right.
Because in the business, I know that's going to last longer.
Yeah.
That's not going to
Right.
leak and cause damage to my home. I wanted a better faucet. And that is, I think, if you offer the service and you offer the choices, I think that's what we always talk about is we want to give you 1 to 3 options and let you decide, but do a good job of explaining it to you. Because not everybody's in a position to go buy the brass faucet.
Right.
So
And there's a reason it costs
Right.
more. Yeah.
There's so many, but again, I don't want to force
Right.
that brass faucet on everyone.
Yeah.
I want to give them a choice, and I will install it with care either way.
Right.
But I want you to decide which one fits your situation.
Yeah.
If you had to define Pruitt's Plumbing in one word, what would you say?
Family.
Oh.
I think it's, as much as we're a plumbing company, we right now we're together. We're in a better position than we've ever been in the history of our company. We're just, we're looking and planning our 20-year anniversary, but everybody's in it together when everybody's invested. And I think that is what really makes a difference my accountant went out the other day to help a technician hide a jet line because we needed a second person and no one else was available. It was a great experience for him. But again, there was a need and someone in the company stepped up and took it without any question.
Well, that actually says a lot about your culture.
Yeah.
And about a lot of things.
Yeah.
The culture and your leadership.
Yeah, there's obvious changes as my brother has recently passed, so there was a lot of additional work put on a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not one complaint.
Huh.
Everyone understood what the deal was, and they knew it was important for the company, and everyone stepped in and made sure that we continued on flawlessly.
How many employees do you have now?
27. And we do have an office in Lake Havasu City that does that surrounding area, Bullhead, Kingman, Parker, kind of the Mojave County area.
And your office here in the valley is where?
It is right off of I-17 in between Cactus and Peoria. But we do service the whole valley. We have trucks in every part of the valley virtually every day.
Got some nice swag going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our trucks look fantastic now. We have a nice display, Pruitt's Plumbing on the side.
I love the logo of just let Pruitt's do it.
Yeah, there's nothing to it. Let's Pruitt it. And that came from my parts manager who made that up.
Oh.
So no professional environment there, but
There's nothing to it. Let Pruitt's do it.
let Pruitt's do it.
So you mentioned something about the difference in the quality of the product and what that makes. What are some other things that might be good tips for people? Like, I know that a leaky toilet can be very costly. And I think people are unaware, like how much can you actually lose just from a little tiny leak?
Yeah, water is not cheap
No.
as it used to be.
No.
And especially,
And we're in the
we're
desert.
in the desert. That's what we tell someone the other day, it's just don't be a drip. Fix that leak.
Yeah.
A toilet running constantly can go through 100 to 150 gallons a day.
A day.
And you'll never see it.
And you have no idea.
It's just going down.
So how would somebody detect if there's a leak? They get their bill and...
Yeah, typically it comes with a bill. But a lot of times it's just listen, because a lot of times you can hear it.
Yeah.
So what is that? Psst. But yeah,
it's something.
Yeah, and it can be multiple things, but even with the water lines going underneath the concrete of the house, the foundation, what we would call a slab leak,
Yep, I've had it.
is just another thing that my water bill is this. It's going crazy. I can't find water anywhere, and I've checked anything because you can put a lot of water underneath your house, and it may never show up.
I think people are surprised that it's pretty common, and there's a solution for it.
It is much more common than people think.
Right.
We probably do 1 to 2 slab leaks every single week. Yeah.
So the moral is, if you see a change in your bill, it's not going to go away. It's going to get worse.
Listen to it.
It's like the sooner, and so there are ways to detect it, right? How do you do that?
Yes, we have electronic devices. We have listening devices. A few years back, people would jackhammer through the floor and fix it. Technology and stuff today, you don't do that as much. You may get in a situation like it's going to an island, but for the most part, is you take point A and point B and you run a new line through the walls of the attic so that you don't have to tear up the flooring, because flooring is fairly expensive, and insurance companies don't ever want to pay for flooring because now they have to do the whole room, they have to match, and it gets really expensive. So most people do what we call a reroute, and they'll use PEX piping, which is a great alternative for that. It's flexible, great product. But it's going in and finding it with its copper. We hook up electrical lines to the copper, and then we find our wands and we trace it out to see where it's going, so that rather than trying to find the water line in your wall and make it look like Swiss cheese, we can go in there and cut one hole and find it. And then it's just a matter of access. You get the challenging ones where it's on the outside wall, behind the kitchen sink, with a window, that you have to get creative and go behind the dishwasher and do things. One slab leak, and usually they're caused because Arizona doesn't require builders to protect the lines. So they take the dirt and the rocks out, set it over here, put the pipe down, put the dirt and the rocks on top of the pipe, and then the rock sits against the pipe. Most of the time it's a hot water pipe, but it heats up, cools down, expands, contracts, rubs against it for years, and then makes
there's a little one, and then a bigger one, and then bigger and bigger and bigger.
Typically, it's the tip of a ballpoint pen.
That's
a big leak. That's how big.
Wow.
Yeah, people all the time. It's just like,
that's
costing me how much for that? And you pull out the little piece of pipe and show it to them. And go, hey, here's your hole. They're just like.
I think we all believe that you can tell a lot about the company from its leadership, and our businesses are a reflection of who we are. Absolutely. So I'm curious, what are some of the things that people don't know about you?
Oh my gosh. Do I have to tell them now? I like music. I don't do it in front of anybody. I don't karaoke, but I sing in the car all the time. I like to go play Songo.
What's Songo?
Songo is bingo with music.
Bingo with Songo. Okay, so bingo.
It has different places throughout the valley, but we usually go once a month up at I-17, Chileans on I-17. And a gentleman does it who is in the industry, but he was a musician. He actually just had a show he did this last Sunday at Copper Blues, but he's older. But you get a bingo card, they play 10 seconds of a song, you have to figure out who the artist is, and then you win. Yeah, you win a drink or a dessert.
Did you win?
I've won before. My wife and I, all our kids are grown adults now, and I guess they got tired of the heat because they all went to cold weather states. But we love to go hiking. My wife's retired.
What's your favorite hike in Arizona?
Tonto National Park was really, really nice. Yeah, and just go over there and go underneath and then go over the top. It was really, really nice. She gets, because she's retired, so she gets to do a little more than I am. In fact, she's flying to Italy today. my middle daughter is getting married in June, so this is the girls' bridal trip.
We got one of those coming
And
up.
we run up to see my grandkids in Chicago.
How many grandkids?
I have 2 grandkids. One will be 7 in June, and my granddaughter will be 4 in March, who was born on my wife's birthday.
Oh, wow.
So they have that in common.
Yes, they do.
But yeah, we get there as much as we can. I'm a big Chicago Cubs fan.
Oh, okay. Chicago Cubs.
Good
Yep.
deal.
Yep,
So,
yep, yep.
yeah, growing up working with my dad in restaurants, in the summer, it was either watch soap operas on the TV or watch Chicago Cubs baseball. We chose baseball.
Good choice.
But yeah, it's when my daughter was moving to Chicago, she had met a boy online through another friend, and they just got there, and then finally it was, and she was going to just get in and move.
Wow.
You know, as a parent, you're just like, oh, what are you, crazy? What do we know about this guy? He was like, yeah, he can go up on his roof and he can look into Wrigley Field. I said, all right, I'll help you pack. Let's go.
Okay.
You know,
Well,
But
thank
yeah.
you so much for visiting with us and sharing
Thanks for
about
inviting me.
the beautiful cultural shift that you've done
Yeah.
at Pruitt's.
Well, thank you. That's what I would just tell anybody is just give us an opportunity. That's all. If we can't do what we're supposed to do and do it right, don't use us again.
Right.
But we're pretty confident that we'll do things the right way and treat you like you're part of the family, and hopefully become your plumber of choice after that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for being
Well,
here.
thanks for having it. It's a great
Gotcha.
program.